McGill University is cutting 25 clubs and varsity teams across 15 sports for the 2026-2027 season. That includes men's and women's badminton, track and field, women's rugby, and field hockey, among others. McGill has had a ton of successful athletes. 156 McGill students or grads have competed at the Olympics, and of that number, they produced 34 Olympic medals, 12 of them being of the gold variety. Let's hear from one of the athletes themselves. Justin Mazzella is a sprinter for McGill's track team. Here's what he had to say.
We all found out from the release from the varsity administration, which was, I think it's very striking in this situation how sudden it was, given that there was no warning, especially for a team like track and field to just get on the chopping block without a real fair chance at knowing and even having any kind of appeal or review process before the actual decision. Going to another university is on the top of my list right now. It's important for me to continue track. I want to continue it even after university. So these next few years, whatever I may be studying, they need to have track. And if McGill, if McGill can't offer it anymore, then I will end up transferring, unfortunately.
Joining me to talk more about this decision by McGill is the best in the business, of course, Arash Madani. Welcome back to the studio. But Arash, when you heard this news, what was your initial reaction?
Here we go again. How short-sighted could you be? What do you mean you're getting rid of track and field? Women's rugby? Are you serious? And maybe most unnerving, terrifying of all, Sav, is this the canary in the coal mine? Is this now the excuse, the reason, the catalyst for other universities to begin a thorough review and start doing some of the same? It is wrong, to say nothing of the embarrassment. It is absolutely wrong that McGill is cutting track and field, that they're cutting women's rugby, that they're cutting a number of these sports. Some you kind of understand, some make sense. But track and field and women's rugby especially.
In this country right now?
And the pushback you're getting from the Glenroy Gilberts of the world, from the Bruni Surins of the world, from Andre DeGrasse. They have no shame. They have no serious thought. What they're showing, what they're revealing to their student athletes, to their alumni, to the sports ecosystem in this country is that they're unserious. And that's what's been revealed over the last week. What
bothers me the most, coming from a former youth sports athlete as well, is the fact that I'm looking at the next generation. Obviously this impacts the here and the now. If you're already a student athlete, you're like, I might not have a season next year. It sounds like I don't. But what gets me more so is looking at the high school kids, even the middle school kids that have aspired to play in the next level in Canada. And for me, it's like, okay, is the only option now going to the States? If, in fact, of what you're saying basically is that if other programs follow suit, then you're taking away athletics from the overall landscape of this country. And how many, as I just read, how many athletes go on to play at the national level? I'll say this hits home for me because I have an aunt, Carol Hamilton. She played for Laurentian University. She was part of that dynasty that won all those championships.
In hoops,
in women's basketball.
Sure.
And she was also on the national team. And so we see so many
And she wasn't the only one from Laurentian on the national team either, right?
Nope, absolutely not. There's so many incredible athletes in this country that use this league, youth sports, as the trampoline, as the board to kind of elevate them to the national and international levels.
So you played. You're a student athlete. It wasn't easy.
Oh.
It was difficult. It was hard. There was adversity. It required work. The ask of the athlete, the ask of the student athlete is to go above and beyond. The ask of the student athlete is to find a way. The ask of the student athlete is when you've reached some kind of pitfall, when there's the door, you got to figure out a way to either knock it down or find a solution. But the adults in the room are not being held to the same standard.
Amen.
What is, if the recommendation comes that we need to whack, how many sports was that you just mentioned?
Well, including clubs, I believe it was 25.
When internally do they look in the mirror, just like every student athlete is to when they struggle on the court, ice, floor, field, whatever, and say, okay, I got to be accountable. I got to get better. I got to find a way. I got to find myself a solution here. Why aren't these universities, why aren't the staff, why isn't the direction being held to the same standard of, okay, what can we now improve, do better from an alumni standpoint, from a philanthropic standpoint, from a business standpoint, from a corporate sponsorship standpoint?
I think you speak on a really great point there, because for me, I also see about the camaraderie and the alumni support. You kind of mentioned it a little bit there. I believe in the States, from my knowledge, from my twin sister, she played NCAA as well. They just have such strong alumni support, donors, people who are in the business world that have gone on to do great things, also coming back to their alma mater. And I just feel like in Canada, there's certain programs, certain schools that don't have even a quarter of that support.
But you can have vocal alumni. Like that same McGill University was teetering a little while back, wondering whether or not football should continue, and then the alumni stepped up. Look, the change.org page already has, over 6,000 signatures. It's not just that the alumni can save the program. The alumni need to now go to university administration and say enough is enough. And this is not just a McGill thing.
Yeah.
Like this is like I mentioned at the beginning, this is going to start across the board now. And this is where, if you are an alumnus of a Canadian university institution, if you played sports and this matters to you and you want your university to continue performing at a high level and being an elite level institution, a U Sports school, step up.
Yeah.
Make your voice heard. Gather people around. Get people engaged. Start now before the message is it's too late, it's over, we're cutting. I can foresee a scenario in which the track and field gets walked back. I can at McGill. But my point here is there are a lot of schools quietly who may be doing some of these same reviews right now. At a time where dollars coming into institutions are less, at a time where finances are tight across the board at a university. So if you're a proud alumnus of football, basketball, hockey, track, lacrosse, rugby, you name it, soccer, make sure you and your crew are chatting right now, because something's brewing, and it's not just at McGill.
A final point that I will make to this is the fact that in a time in Canada where we're seeing the growth of women's sports at the professional level, between the rugby women's team silver medaling at the Worlds, between
at the Olympics,
and then also the PWHL expanding across Canada. They just got a new team in Vancouver. Okay, we got the Toronto Tempo coming in 2026. These are all the highest levels, but there has to be a level just below that people can aspire to, getting to that next step. You don't go from high school straight to like the WNBA here.
Of course.
And so what gets me was the fact that it was reported that more than 100 student athletes combined across 3 main programs, being track and field, women's rugby, and women's field hockey. Now, the numbers are kind of still yet to be revealed, coincidentally enough, but it's assumed that over 100 female athletes will be impacted by this. And I just personally find it, as a woman who also was a student athlete herself, that this is devastating. This is a step back, especially when women have come so far to fight for rights and equality in sports specifically. We know that Title IX, Canada got CC'd on that email. And so that's why I feel like when you're cutting all the programs back, but specifically you're impacting a lot of women's programs, that's where my heart goes out to the athletes. That's where I get frustrated and furious, quite frankly, over the institutions that, to your point, cannot seem to find a solution. this should be not even the last resort. This shouldn't even be on the table ever to be considered. Athletics is usually the heart and soul of a school. You know, that's what all the students, their peers rally around. They come out to their games. It's a community environment. It gives people to champion something beyond academics. Academics is great, but you can't yell in a gym and scream and, you know, talk some smack to another team in a safe space other than sport.
You said something interesting there, Sav. You talked about how these schools haven't found a way. My bigger issue is they haven't even tried. They're going to pretend. They're going to say, they're going to have messaging. When you start going to third parties coming in for reviews and bringing in, what did you do in the lead up to that? What as an organization, what as an athletic department did you do differently? What did you try? What did you experiment with? You're saying, okay, our financial model isn't working right now. Let's find a different way. Let's find different paths, plural. Did those even happen? My presumption? Nah.